Oh my goodness, oh my goodness. Hello and welcome to the Eurovision for Real podcast. I'm your host, Alesia Michelle. And today's really exciting because I'm not alone. I am joined by Brooke from EurovisionFam.com. And today's episode is all about the vibes. It's all about the vibes. And we are going to be basically having a conversation around figuring out what we feel like the vibe at Eurovision 2025 is going to be. And the vibe is not just what you're experiencing like IRL. It's like, what is the show giving? What are the songs giving? What are the artists giving? So before we get into this, of course, we have to do what I always do. Let's bust in that theme song. Eurovision for real with Alesia Michelle. With Alesia Michelle and Brooke. Okay, Brooke, you gotta shout out, introduce yourself for folks who might not know you or who maybe missed your episode from last season.
Hi, Alicia. So thank you for having me back. It's always a joy when we get to chat. So hopefully some of that joy will come through for the listeners who do not know me, who do not have any idea what kind of vibe I can bring to the room, but we'll just try to enjoy ourselves, enjoy our conversation. I will do my best to make sense and not just fully live in my delusions, which is where I spend most of my time. But
You know,
otherwise,
I love a delusional moment though. Come on. We all have our delulu moments. We're allowed to.
I think we're allowed to, and we should really celebrate them because it's where most of us seem to thrive.
You're so right. Well, the reason why I kind of wanted to have this conversation around the vibe is because we live in a world where I believe, like, I call it the trend of aesthetic storytelling. And I think one of the best examples of this is Euphoria, the television show Euphoria, which I've talked ad nauseum about how it is a cultural reset, and whether you are watching it or not, it is affecting culture. It's affecting art. It's affecting fashion. It's affecting music. It's influencing all these different spaces. And one of the things that I think is so interesting about what Euphoria has done, and I'm not suggesting that it's the first piece of media to do this, but it's one of the first pieces of media to do it and catch on in the way that it did and sort of be adopted, is this idea of aesthetic storytelling. And so to me, that is like maybe a more concrete, tangible, maybe perhaps a little bit more of an academic way of describing the vibe. Because the thing about Euphoria is if you watch the show, there is a storyline, but like they drop storylines. They'll introduce concepts and then never revisit it. And like, do we care? Not that much. I think like not that much. Like it doesn't stop people from watching because I think so much of it is driven by the vibe, by like the mood that they're kind of conveying with the fashion, with the music, you know. And I think one of the things that I will always praise Euphoria for doing is allowing Labyrinth to get the flowers that he deserves because the way that music sort of helps to shift and change and denote a mood in Euphoria, I love it. Like I think it is masterful. So even if you're like, I can't get with the drugs and the teenagers and the sex and all of that stuff, like I can't get into those things, you can hop into the soundtrack of Euphoria, and I highly recommend it because the music from the show is just really, really strong, and also again helps to convey the mood. So I say all this to prep us for what do we think sonically the vibe is going to be of Eurovision 2025? Because when I look at the summer, and I even said this last year, one thing that I feel like hasn't really, really cracked through in a large way at Eurovision is honestly like country music. And country music is a very American thing. But like, I mean, let's be real. The Netherlands was basically giving us country tracks back to back at Eurovision for a while. And let me just say, well executed sonically tracks, but I haven't seen that really crop up. Obviously, we had Estonia Stefan with Hope, which had that Western, you know, kind of spaghetti Western feel that we were then experiencing on the Italian stage. But and so I will say, I say the regular charts don't always then reflect what we see at Eurovision. But I would say another trend that we can say, so country music, I think globally is just being consumed. Morgan Wallen is doing the thing. Post Malone left hip hop in the dust and is now a country singer. Shabuzi was my song of the summer. And I mean, like Shabuzi, I think has now become like, what is it? Like the longest charting number one, like country song, like on the Billboard charts, something like that. Um, and so we had country, but at the same time, I think we had this pop girly revolution, in pop music with Chapel Rowan, with Sabrina Carpenter, Charlie XCX finally getting, I think, like she's been popular, like she's cut through, she's had number one hits and everything, but I feel like she really became a little bit more of a global music contender now this year, with Brat, and because I think Brat became this sort of cultural like shift and movement, and I think kind of went on to sort of be the umbrella term for these emerging like pop stars that we had and like kind of women dominating the genre. So those are the things that I think we kind of see in mainstream music. But Brooke, what do you think the music, the sonic vibe of Eurovision 2025 is going to give?
Okay, so that's a lot to respond to think about, just to chew on for a minute. But I will say, for one thing, I don't think I know a single Eurovision fan who would ever complain to see a huge pop girly moment. Like, let's just be real. We would be completely fine to have that taken over. Um, I'm not certain that that's what we're going to see. And that's just based on the limited songs we've seen released this year, if we're looking at the national finals. Um, you know, with Montesong, we was really ballad heavy with what those entries were. And I think we can kind of expect that, from Montenegro. Like, that wasn't something where we were like, what's happening here? This is different. They've changed. They went away and they came back in a totally different form. No, it made sense. I think that we're going to see a little bit of that pattern continue, though, of countries taking some chances, with that cha cha cha, with that Europapa. Like, there is a hungry, energetic vibe, the rim tim taggy dim of it all. Like, we are going to see people who are just trying to have fun. So I kind of hope that we see a continued party vibe, and that starts to be something that is we can see come through in multiple different genres. So it's not just going to be, oh, it's a rock party, or, oh, it's kind of this or that. It's a dance party. I just want to see that party energy kind of coming through, even with the pop girlies. Like, let's go ahead, do our thing. I don't know. I guess I'm in a high energy mood after 2024. I just kind of would like to see a positive, energetic, like, this is why we're here. We're here for a party. We're here for fun. We're here to kind of celebrate, and let's, I don't know, manifest that energy for 2025. Like, something up, something that we can all just really enjoy and be a part of. So.
Well, I mean, I have to call out the elephant in the room because this is the Eurovision for Real podcast, so we have to keep it real. Well, Yo's party was cut short last year. Okay. Do you think that sort of the fun folks, the fun, the radical, the in your face kind of, I would almost say slightly like alt culture folks, do you feel like they might be scared off? Because obviously we did have Baby Lasagna. Baby Lasagna did very, very well last year. But do you feel like those folks might be a little bit like, oh, well, like, Yo's, like, they basically kicked him out of the party, and I like him, so I'm afraid they might try and kick me out of the party. What do you think?
I mean, I completely understand that train of thought. I can follow that all the way. And that's where I just have the hope, right? That's what I don't want to see, like, cut short. I want to see people who are going like, no, look at the music video, the views that had. Look at the energy he still got from it. Look at the boost he actually has. Who cares about what happened in the final at Eurovision when his career isn't hindered by that? And I hope that that's what a musician would take away, is saying, like, look at the audience that he got in front of, he wouldn't have had otherwise. Like, it's not like he was unknown, right? He had a career. He would have had a career
Right,
if he
right.
hadn't gone to ESC. However, I think that definitely took him to some new places, to some different heights. He got introduced to an incredible new audience. So that's my hope, is that people see the upside, that people don't see like, oh, personally, he had a bad experience. And a lot of other musicians have talked about having a bad experience. And hopefully they're seeing more of, what I've seen from so many, even if we look at um, what we saw with Manta Song this year, where the artist was just like, hey, but this put us in front of an audience we wouldn't have had otherwise. And we're going to be grateful for that growth in our audience that we got, even if we're not performing at ESC. And I think that that's the attitude a lot of folks going into the national finals should have, is all of a sudden you're on TV, right? You aren't just playing the back room of some smoky club, hoping that drunk people are listening to you. You've got a rapt attention of people who might actually go stream your album, buy your album, pick up some merch, come to a show. You've got a chance to move from somebody else's supporting act to standing on your own. And I hope that a lot of, fun artists who maybe aren't just Eurovision fans, because honestly, we have also seen what a Eurovision fan can do at ESC, and it's not always a nice outcome, right? You've got Ali, who, by all intents and purposes, was really trying to be a Eurovision fan who did well at Eurovision, and to come away with nil point is just, that's got to be heartbreaking. But it is that piece of, sometimes what's going to catch isn't going to be the thing that's crafted in a lab to entertain the Eurovision public. It's going to be that authentic expression of somebody's just musical, just desire and hope and dream. And that's what's going to come through and connect with people. So God, I hope that that doesn't scare people away. I hope that we still get some real authentic artists who aren't just in like an Eurovision echo chamber and wanting to be a part of it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I've always said I think Eurovision is one of the best tools for an artist, especially an artist that's maybe a little bit outside of the box, to like get this introduction. I mean, you've got this huge fan base of people who want music, who want to be wowed, who want something really cool. It's interesting you talk about like this year being the year possibly like giving us a vibe of like fun and the party, because I'm not gonna lie, I'm thinking maybe a little bit opposite. I'm wondering if we're going to have, because it's Switzerland and it's like expensive and it feels, luxe and it feels a little bit highbrow, that we might be getting to this mature, this like very elevated, maybe strong ballads even. Because when I think even about Nemo's song, although it was such a genre mismatch in the best way, like I loved it. We had a little bit of hip hop, we had popra, we kind of had electro elements in there, and then of course this amazing vocal performance, but at its core, I mean, this was a very slick sonic package. Like, this was not like, oh, I made this song on GarageBand in my basement, which I do. It's very fun. But you know what I mean? Like, this was very polished. And so I'm almost wondering if people kind of fall for the Switzerland of it all and possibly lean in to even like, yeah, just a little bit more, maybe a little bit of popra, maybe a little bit more ballad, vocal showcasey. I don't know. What do you think? And I would even say, like, I call this like the Lana Del Rey genre, which really means like cinematic, like where when you listen to a Lana Del Rey song, it sounds like there is a symphony and an orchestra playing, and then you're listening to this very modern song, but it's like something about it that's very epic. You could also say like Bond music, the songs that feel like they should be opening up a James Bond movie. And I was kind of thinking, I was like, oh, maybe we'll get a bit of that. And so what do you think? I don't know.
No, I mean, listen, I love that thought as well. There is just always a piece of me that is going to be trying to manifest party because I want a good summer soundtrack is what I want to take away
Look,
from
I want my
Eurovision.
summer. Yes, I
Right.
want my summer hit. I really do. I really do.
So I have that trouble of just like, oh, can I get an anthem? What can I take away from this? So there's that piece, but I can 100% see that perspective of that I hope there is that piece though too. Like I love what you said about just the cinematic quality and that sort of vibe, the bondness of it all. Because when you think about it, you know, exactly. I guess I don't want people just learning the old Swiss lessons. I want them learning from Switzerland 2024. That you can bring that elevated production, that just, you know, sound quality to any type of genre. It doesn't need to be a ballad. It doesn't, to have something sweeping and symphonic behind it. And it's at the same time that we're saying this, I am thinking about how, and this is just me going slightly off tangent, I have been obsessed this year with Sanremo Giovanni. So just forgive me for that. But it's been great. That's been classic. All the songs have been fantastic. My favorite this year has been a ballad. And so it's that piece of, as much as I say, what I want is this anthem, this upbeat, this party vibe. If you give me something I'm going to emotionally connect to, yeah, I'm going to be a sucker. You're going to just bowl me over. I'm going to be dead to rights. This is where I am. Plant my flag in the ground. And like, this is it for me. So yeah, is there a possibility that we can get swept off by some moody ballads? I'm okay with that too. I think last year I really felt like when Slimane came out first with that ballad, I was like, oh, we're not getting other ballads this year. Like he's planted a flag, and like you've got that vocal performance, and France is already like, hi, we're doing this. I would run away if I don't care who I am. I don't care what I think my voice sounds like. I don't care how good I am at writing. I would have ran for the hills if I thought I was bringing a ballad to ESC up against that song last year, just immediately, because the vibe is so strong to me. And so that's where I think, it's that piece of, I'm excited by how many national finals we're getting this year, because it's not going to be that piece of we can scare off other people because there's internal selections who are just going to have to try to pivot and do something different. It's really going to be, that, it's always producer's choice in the end, right? It's not just producer's choice on a blank purple thing. It's typically producer's choice, no matter who's voting, no matter what the jury looks like, no matter what the televote is. We're getting those results just recently of the Poland from 2 years ago, where they're like, okay, well, here's the actual televote from, Gladiator. So like seeing those this morning, those numbers out, we can be honest, like there's always a thumb on the scale somewhere. But at the same time, I think we get to be swept along by the energy and the vibe of what the artists are bringing this year as we start to see these national final playlists come together and shake out and see these performances. So I don't know. I love being swept along on the journey. So I can want to manifest my party vibes. I can want to be swept away by some beautiful, moving ballads. But ultimately, I'm going to eat whatever they give me. I'm just going to be happy for it. I'm just grateful it's here. And
Well,
I'm
that's of
just
course.
excited.
I mean, like, obvious. I mean, like, we're Eurovision fans. Like, we're deep in the bubble. We're going to gobble all of this. It doesn't matter, like, what it is. But I will say, one of the things that you brought up when we talk about vibe, and I don't think that this is even questionable at this point, when we talk vibe, I think that authenticity piece is so key. And I think I want to venture to guess that most countries and delegations now get it. Like, I do think for the most part, most of the participants at Eurovision and the delegations are aware that, like, we cannot just dress someone up like how we want to and, like, kind of push them out there and say, like, okay, you're doing this and this and this. Like, if that person doesn't really live, breathe, and evoke that piece that they are giving us, no one's really going to vibe to it. Like, it's just going to feel like it's put on and you've just like dressed up this person and like kind of forced them to do it. I am grateful for that. But in that same vein, when I say vibe at Eurovision this year, and I made a TikTok about this, we are going to get, and I don't want to say all of them are copycats, but we are going to get some out of the box Bambi Thug 2.0s coming out. Now, I will tell you, Czech Republic had an opportunity to get witchy with us with, what was it, the Judy song? Judy, that was the year that we got, Where Are You Now When I'm in You? Which I liked that song. But I'm telling you, the other track, I'm like, that would have been my number one. Like, it would have been my number one. I would have been standing for it. It would, and mind you, I said early on, I was like, Bambi Thug is giving me the things that I like. This is the stuff that I like. But I do think we are going to get a little bit of a vibe of, I think, the real, authentic, out of the box. I think there will be some copycats, but I think that there is a door open for those people who are the authentic, out of the box, really, really creative performers. And some people might say, like, we touched on the scaring people away off. I think ultimately the platform that Eurovision provides to artists is just unparalleled. I think the only thing it rivals is the chance of an algorithm and you getting to go viral on TikTok. Like, and there's so much about that is random, but with Eurovision you are getting a huge amount of eyes on you, and if you really have something that people want to latch onto, prepare yourself to be Måneskin. Prepare yourself for that international stardom, because it can come if it's authentic. So I do think we could get that kind of slightly weird, the little bit strange, the little bit off kilter performance, and artists, even if the song sonically isn't giving that. I do think we might have more artists that are just like, this is who I am. This is what I'm about. Because I think Nemo also falls in that category as well, where it's not put on, it's not contrived. Like, this is sort of authentic to who they are. And yeah, to some folks, clear, pearl clutching Eurovision, you know, old timers are like, no, what is this crazy, strange thing? But it's like, when the performance is executed well, you're pulled in. You're pulled in. I don't know. What do you think?
I no, I 100% agree with that. I think authenticity is the key, right? So we can talk about what different things we might encounter sonically. I hope we have authenticity across the board. I never want that song that was written for Eurovision. I want the song that this is what the artist was going to release and the timing was right and it worked for them to put it into this national final. It worked for them to release it for Eurovision, but it's what they were going to do anyway. That's the song. Those are always the songs that I end up, having at the top of my playlist. Those are the songs that I'm going to listen to over and over again. So, yeah, God, I hope so. I hope we just have authenticity up and down, all of the songs, because that's really, for me, that's the thing that makes it worth coming back to year after year, is when you're actually getting the authentic song from the artist. You're not getting something that, was just created in a lab to try to win over Eurovision. I know that we've got some countries where I can kind of expect, like, it's going to be technically good. It's going to be well cooked by perfect songwriters who know what they're doing. It's going to leave me cold because it's going to be that piece where it's that piece of targeted expression, where it's that piece of, we're going to get something that's going to take us to Eurovision. We're going to shoot for top 10 and it's going to hit. Well, okay, that's great, but that's not what I really came for. I want that artist. I want this artist having a piece of writing the song. I want the artist to really be expressing something with what they're doing and not just like paint by numbers, putting on a show by committee. So yeah, let's go. Authenticity is the vibe. I would love that more than anything.
Well, last year I christened the queer quintet at Eurovision, and we did have one of our winners coming from the queer quintet. So I just want to throw that out there. Um, and and thinking of this year, I have already sort of said, I think this year, and I when I say simple, I mean simple. I would not be surprised if the winner for Eurovision 2025 is a simple singer-songwriter. And I mean, it might be one of those simple, I'm sitting on the stage, I'm playing my guitar, I'm singing this sweeping song, and maybe I don't even move from the bench with which I decided to sit on. Okay? I don't know why, but I'm like, I feel like this could be a year, because we did have a lot of bombast and upbeat last year. We had tons of pop girlies. So I feel like going into the summer, like Brat Girl Summer, like sort of felt like a continuation of Eurovision for me in a way. And even like the 80s vibe. Like, to me, listening to Chapel Roan, I'm just listening to like music from the 80s. It is very like 80s, borderline derivative. I have to be, if I'm being critical and fair, borderline derivative here and there, but that was the vibe. I think, Charlie XCX, I think, the espresso of it all, like my cute pop girly summer was kicked off by Eurovision with Nebulosa, with Colleen, with honestly Marina Sati. I think giving us that sort of pop girly but elevated and ethnic, and it feels fresh. Like I think Marina Sati is right on the pulse of like sort of where I think, and I had a Twitter Spaces and was talking to GJ, and GJ was like, I feel like Marina Sati, like I almost don't want to put her in the pop girly category because it's almost like she's so elevating like what that category is. But I said, I was like, no, 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 we can put her in the category because she most certainly is like that pop girly. Some people were hesitant about, the Nebulosa, like, well, is that like a pop girly? Yes. Like, are you kidding me? Like, Zora was a pop girly anthem, and we had so much of that. But I'm not gonna lie, like I do think like I'm gonna go out on a limb, and I know the Eurovision gays and the queens are gonna come for me, but I'm gonna say I think we had too much of it last year. I think there was a slight oversaturation where then I think when it came down to giving the points, we cannibalized a little bit. Um, because yeah, I think that did happen, but I am hopeful that if we get a little bit more of the Marina Satis, not too oversaturated, because I think it does best when you got two or three, no more than that. I still do think, though, and this is just my wild Eurovision like prediction, is that simple singer-songwriter vibe kind of performance and sonically, I'm thinking like a Common Linnets. I'm thinking even like an Anouk. I'm thinking of the performance. The other one? I just want to say, I'm in love with you. Da 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 da. I'm thinking even Malta. I'm coming home. Something that just feels authentic, that's well sung, they're not doing too much. That is what I'm tracking this year for the that will come victorious. But I don't necessarily think the song that ends up being victorious is reflective of the whole vibe, though, of the contest, if I'm being honest. Like, so I'm saying that I think our winner could be in that vein, but I don't know that means it's dictating the vibe of the contest. But I'm wondering vibe wise if we get the continuation of the pop girlies, because I mean, that is what's happening in sort of like popular culture right now. And then I wonder if, but I definitely don't think the country is going to permeate too deeply this year. I just, I don't think that's going to happen. But I do think we're going to get this. I think the vibe is going to give out of the box. I think the vibe is going to give aesthetic storytelling where it's like maybe it's not even about the lyrical content. Like the lyrical content might not even need to have that much depth, but it's like the production of it all. It's the look and feel of it all. And it's more like what we're conveying than what we're saying. That's, I don't know, maybe I'm getting too academic here, but
No.
I do think like I wonder if I do wonder if the party continues. Like we love it. Like I think so many people come to Eurovision for escape. Are we going to get escapism this year by way of party, or are we going to get escapism this year by way of this elevated sort of almost like, even if it's faux, like, but faux highbrow kind of culture and commentary? I don't know. Or maybe we get like the complete opposite of that. Like, I don't know, not in in the Basel streets. I don't know.
Yeah.
What are you thinking, Brooke?
No, I mean, there's so many things to respond to there, but it's just that there's two big points. One is that I 100% agree with you that I think our winner can wind up being something that is not sharing the vibe, but I feel that is kind of the important thing every year is how do you stand out? How do you, like I said about France scaring off ballads last year, how do you make sure like you stand out? Like you don't want to reflect something that's going to be better than yours or, is going to kind of be eating at the same audience. So I do think that that's an important piece, but too, just your thought of that, solo singer songwriter up there, guitar, whatever, sitting on a bench, just kind of wowing everybody.
Wait,
I
hold
mean, that,
on. That's that. You gave me another S. A simple solo singer-songwriter on the stage. Yes, that is my itch.
yeah.
I don't
I
know.
mean, listen, so I'm going to be starting my letter writing campaign to get C. John from San Remo Giovanni into Una
Come
Voce for
on,
San
come
Marino. So
on, come
San
on.
Marino, we're bringing you a singer songwriter. We're going to take it over. We're going to just have to wow it. We're going to bring what we want. So let me just go get my pen and paper. I'm going to start something. We'll see what happens.
Well, no, I love that. And we don't want to keep you for too long on this podcast. But one of the things is if you're listening to this podcast on Spotify, Spotify allows you to comment. And so I want to hear from y'all. Like, what do you think the vibe of Eurovision 2025 is going to be? And quick plug, hey folks, there's so much misinformation out there, especially when it comes to women's health, especially when it comes to the true story around fibroids. If you follow me on social media, you've been hearing I've been preaching about this for a really long time because it really does disproportionately affect women of color. And I just want to make sure people are not subscribing to the misinformation or the fake news. Do your research and connect with physicians like Dr. Will at Horizon Vascular Specialists. You can get more information at horizonfibroids.com or get connected on Instagram at the fibroid doc underscore MD. The details are below. But Brooke, I gotta ask you like one last question. Okay. We're going, obviously, the vibe at Eurovision 2024 was tense. It was tense. It was tight. Do you feel like that's going to carry over to 2025? Do you feel like that energy is still around right now? We've gotten all this news about all of these national selections. We even had our first confirmed act and song and then withdrawal. Then withdrawal. We've had so much of that. And, and I kind of said, I was like, I don't know how this disqualification or I should say not disqualification, but like this, we're stepping away. We are self disqualifying and just saying, you know what, we're just going to step back. Like we just won't continue. From, what is it? Neon Owen?
I think so.
Yeah, clickbait. Okay. The song that when I first heard it, I was like, dun 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 dun. You got me feeling hella good, so let's just keep on dancing. I was like, that's what the song sounds like. But anyway, anyway, we won't be experiencing that on the stage. But do you feel like the tenseness is going to be around? Because I'll go on and I'll answer first. I feel like we live in a society where people have very short attention spans. And I'm actually venturing to guess that I don't think the vibe is going to be tense again. Yeah, I just don't. But I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I totally could be. And we don't know what else is going to go down. I don't know that we're starting off on the right foot to be, beating the allegations, so to speak, with, sort of starting off the year with essentially an act going, yeah, okay, never mind. We're not going to be at the big show. So I don't know if that puts us in that space. But yeah, where are you at? What do you think the Eurovision 2025 vibe is going to be?
Yeah, I mean, that early vibe has been chaos, right? So it has been that little bit of, oh, we really quickly went into a chaos season. I am hoping we will leave that behind in 2024, that January 1st comes and things just, I don't know, somehow become smooth. And we actually have a nice, calm, not tense, not, and honestly, I don't mind chaos. I'd rather have a little bit of chaos than just like paint by the numbers, just regimented order that's just enforced by a network or enforced by the EBU that is just, we are going to do this and you can't, express outside of that. So, okay, we'll say for that part, let's have some chaos. The tension, gosh, I hope we leave it behind, right? That's the thing that I think really, when I looked at we've all had our different replays of the past year, whether we're looking at our Spotify wraps or YouTube Music's rewind, or for me, I'm on Tidal. So it's just like, here's some songs you listened to this year, whatever you've got. When you look at that, mine was much lower in ESC content than it would have been in other years. And
Same
I had
here.
to away.
All the only person who cracked through was Marina Sati, which makes sense. It does make sense because I liked her before she was even confirmed and everything. She was like my most anticipated like artist that we had confirmed, so it tracks. But yeah, normally I'm swimming in it. Do you know my top album for this year was Arcade Fire The Suburbs?
Wow.
I'm like, what? I had to go back to the 2010s.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's so unusual. I mean, that just is so unusual, but I feel you on that.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's where I am. Let's hope we leave the tension behind. Let's get these, like, shake out the sillies. Let's have our withdrawals, have our weird controversies all happen now. Let's get it out. Let's have a new year and let's get our shit together. Like, I don't know any other way to say it. Let's just be a little bit chill and, oh God, please, let's leave the tension behind.
Oh my goodness, that is the best way to end this. Thank you so much for coming here, Brooke. Go to Eurovision fam.com. If you aren't already following and subscribe to this podcast, it's Eurovision for real. For real, okay? So please, Eurovision for real. You got to subscribe, you got to follow. Thank you so much